Hello and welcome to another episode of My Neighbor's Hot Tub. I am your host, Tristen Lee. Last week, I got to talk with my very good friend, Katy Niemeyer. We left off last week's episode talking about some of Katy's ghost stories. In today's episode, we finish our conversation talking a little bit about death, witchcraft, human behavior, and some of Katy's education. Let's dive in.
I'm trying to keep calm and not get scared right away. You know, as a witch, I'm gonna I have an altar. Spirits are gonna come to my apartment, but I guess I could, prevent that, but still. But I love cemeteries. Yeah. It's a genetic thing because all my cousins on my dad's side, also on my dad's side is my sisters, we're all kind of spooky. Because my cousins also, if we drive past a cemetery we've never physically been in, we'll pull over
to stop and go.
Yeah, to go explore. Yeah. It's like a tourist thing. We're like, let's go explore this graveyard we've never been to. And we have this thing
I think that's exclusively a white thing that people like to do.
What we do is we have, and there's a thing we do where we walk down each aisle, each one, and we kind of just pay respects and we go, okay, here's this person. And then what we do is we find the youngest one or the newest one, the newest grave, the oldest grave, who lived the oldest and who lived the shortest. And then we find the prettiest, artistic, some of them have these beautiful stones, statues or these carvings and whatever. And then we clean up a little bit. We pick up trash, or if someone's fake flowers blew away, we pick it up and give them to somebody and just kind of clean them up a little bit. And I didn't know this was a witchy thing, but apparently I just inherently knew that you don't exit the same way you came in. Oh. The same entry. Yeah. And then before you enter too, you kind of have to ask permission because every graveyard has a guardian. And a lot of people leave them things. I usually, it's really stupid. As a kid, I would leave pine cones and flowers under a tree near the gate or something because my family had a family cemetery that we took care of. Yeah. And it's kind of a little offering, be like, hey. And then you don't take pictures of graves. And then you don't walk on top, right on top of them either. That's really disrespectful. But me, my sisters, and my cousins like doing that. There's this one grave, that huge one over there on Concordia. I have yet to be there. And the one over by Concordia School or whatever, it has a beautiful garden and I just want to walk around. But there's that really busy street. Oh, yeah, I know what you're and I don't want people going, who's that creepy girl just walking around in this graveyard? And then there's that huge one over here that I've driven past that you can see from the highway. Yes. I want to go in so bad.
I was in.
But I don't want to go by myself. And it's weird because I find them calming and relaxing. But as soon as we start talking about I'm fine talking about death, but I cannot talk about my own eventual demise because that's when I'll have a panic attack. Because I'm basically denying that I'll ever die. Because the thought of my own existence being extinguished does not compute in my mind and it freaks me out. But if I talk about just death in general or graveyards, I'm like, oh yeah.
Right. You're fascinated.
I don't remember what the phobia is, but it's the phobia of one's own death. But I'm fine with other death-related things. Yeah. Except when I go to funeral homes. Not funeral homes. If I go to funerals. I've only been to a couple in my entire life. Yeah. And I cannot go within 10 feet of a coffin. Right. Or the dead body. It's almost like I slam into a wall. Yeah. And I'm fine. Oh, icky feeling. I can't go further. And it's weird. Yeah. And it's with all directions. I've had people have to drag me because there's that weird, I think it's so disrespectful and rude, where you have a line where you just walk
Everyone
past
just walks
the
up
casket.
and yeah.
I think it's so disrespectful because there's people, I don't think you should line up like it's a fucking attraction.
Look at the dead.
It's a line, it's a fucking attraction. I'm like, no, have people just come up and walk and have their private time. Because when my mom went to her best friend's funeral, there was this huge line. I waited in the lobby because she knows I can't get near dead bodies. Yeah. But there's this long line and she wanted to take the time to visit her friend, but you felt like you had to keep moving on because there's this huge line. Yeah. And I'm like, no, let people go up and take their time because it's a wake. And it just feels mechanical and almost like an assembly line. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not personable. People need to mourn, or there's people up there who are doing it just for show. And just because I saw people just kind of walk up, look at them and walk away. Or people who were just walking past, who weren't even spending time with the casket or the body.
It's a weird fucking
It's like you're doing it for show.
It's a weird fucking thing.
And I don't like Western versions of funerals. It's just, if you watch Caitlin Dowdy's like Ask a Mortician and you learn about like the death culture and how it used to be and more personable, like it needs to go back to that so that we're not so afraid of it anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have this phobia of my own death and then just going to funerals. I'll stay in the lobby. I'll stay whatever, but I cannot go into the actual viewing room because I just hit this wall of just tingly, creepy, don't want to go near a dead body.
Yeah.
Like the physical dead body. But I'll go to, I think if the casket's closed, it's a little easier. But I can go to graveyards where it's filled with bodies, but I can't go like close to a physical one without freaking out and going, I can't get closer. I can't. So my aunt, when my dead aunt, when my great grandmother died, she's a Catholic, but I think she felt a lot easier. She went up and she would hold their hand and like kiss them on the forehead. Some people do that, yeah. She took me and dragged me to this fucking coffin until I started crying because it just the tingly feeling just got worse and worse and my knees locked and I'm like, I'm about to throw up. Yeah. And I haven't even looked at the body yet. Right. It's just, I hate that people. Vibes. Yeah. And it's just vibes. I'm like, I don't feel it to me. I guess maybe it just feels wrong. Like this super wrong feeling. Yeah. And I'm just, as soon as she let me go, I ran out of that room and I did not go back in. No. So even when she died, even though she was basically my mom, I did not go anywhere near her coffin. Right. I couldn't. Because it was a Catholic fucking funeral, you had to walk past the fucking casket because it was in the front or in the back of the church where you entered for you to go sit down. Yeah. So I literally was like, got as far as I could. I was like literally hugging the other side of the aisle. Yeah. And like ran. To try and get in. To just go past her. Yeah. And just get as far away from her as possible, which then made me feel worse because that's my mom, basically. And, or my other mom. And I'm like, but I visit her grave. I literally visit her grave. She was a 4th of July baby. So on the 4th of July, we go to visit her for her birthday. And we drink because she was a drinker. Yeah. But we have a picnic. Like, not right on top, but like a little bit down. So we have picnics with her. And we'll like put a blanket down, have some of her favorite food, like play Elvis because she loved Elvis. You just spend a day with her. Same, like just... And I'm perfectly fine with that. It's weird.
But you know what? I think everyone's ability to be able to like process death and like, you know, even with regards to like loved ones.
And you think I would be afraid of my own death. I see ghosts. I know it's my biggest fear is that nothing else exists on the other side. And the thought of my existence going scares the shit out of me. Some people find comfort in that and like
I'm one of those.
My brain cannot compute just not existing anymore. Yeah. I need to keep existing.
Yeah. I'm not saying I don't
because I've never not like computed not existing before. Like it's something I have never personally experienced, so I don't understand how that's going to be. It's just really discomforting and just like icky.
I can tell you. This is how I think about it. Do you remember before you were born?
I've heard this conversation, okay?
That's what it's like afterwards.
But now that I've tasted existence, I want to keep existing. Right. So I'm like, I've seen ghosts. I've talked to them. Why the fuck? Oh, they talk to me. Sorry. I've yelled at them. Yeah. So I know there's something past, but it could be, is that a real ghost or is that like that theory that it's just a memory? Like the energy just replaying itself? Or there's that theory that it is a person from another point in time that the timelines are just overlapping and you're like accidentally having crossover.
Yeah, I've seen like the way you could conceptualize it or the way I've conceptualized it is like
I've thought about this way too much.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's a good conversation. Yeah, it's like when you're in the car and you're like listening to the radio and you like are like old fashioned way of like switching stations.
Tuning it and then like you're like different stuff goes through.
In a different frequency, you kind of hear like
a little bit
of else. Like both. Yeah. That's kind of what's happening.
If that's the thing, then that still doesn't prove an afterlife, which freaks me the fuck out. But if it's ghosts, then there is something afterwards. But if it's also just energy replaying itself, because when you die, your energy just doesn't poof, not exist. Like scientists have proved that doesn't happen. No, like the energy,
thermodynamics.
The energy just becomes something else. not evolves, but something else happens. But it's like, if that's just what the energy is doing, is replaying a strong memory or something that happened, that's still not really in existence, because that's not the soul. That's just a memory of energy.
Yeah.
But there's also that theory that right after you die, if you weighed someone,
yes,
and then weigh them after, like minutes after they die, they weigh less, and they're like, maybe that's how much a soul weighs.
Yeah.
Like there's a physical, because energy can be observed physically. Like they're starting to do that, like through special types of, like, I don't know if they use not microscopes, but something where you could see energy now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, witches are right. It's just for years. And I think I was talking to you that witches, and I think with Mariah too, this woman is a science nerd too, but she also believes in witchcraft a little bit, because what witches have been doing for years, or shamans or wise people, is that they've been watching and observing energy and learning how to try and use their energy to interact with it and manipulate the other one, doing stuff and whatever. Because I think when, palmistry, palmistry, just by looking at someone's hands, you can tell what their diet is, hardships in their life, if they have kids or not. And scientists just came out saying, by the lengths of your fingers or whatever, you could probably predict how long someone's going to live. And also, like people with really red hands have a mostly protein meat diet. And they're like, science is proving this now. I'm like, palmistries or palmists have been saying this for years, but people just think they're just gypsies in a tent. And I'm like, no, they've just been calling it something else. But witches have known this knowledge.
It's a whole deep level of hundreds of years observance where
they've just been calling it something else. They call it palmistry and telling the future. But scientists are like, you actually can tell out a person by their fingers and their hands.
Yeah.
But now there's proof by science. And I'm like, witches and gypsies have been saying this for hundreds of years, but everyone's like, nah.
And that's where I really don't think that science has like a monopoly on the understanding.
I think science is just spicy magic.
It's
spicy. That's what people call it. It's spicy psychology and spicy magic that hasn't been explained by science yet.
Yeah.
Until it has, because it's like a lot of the science we have now used to be magic, and the stuff we still call magic or whatever will be later be called science we haven't figured out yet.
Scientific,
or at least hasn't been proven by the people we trust yet. But talk to witches; they know what's going on.
Yeah, you almost can't, like, okay, there's the science community.
It's just called something different.
But what the science is humans' explanation of observations in the world. That's like, this is a repeated thing. You're like, hey, this must mean something. Yeah,
because witches have been saying, we've been manipulating energy. We've been observing this and this and this. And and they're like, we use astrology. Like, astrology's bullshit. I'm like, actually... The Mayans used it.
I think
the people in China still use it. And, they don't just use it for the hell of it either. It has some backing behind it, but it's not until a scientist calls it something else and goes, we can actually prove this, but we call it this now.
Yeah.
Then people believe it.
I think why people say that astrology is bullshit is like, it's like, as soon as you get these fucking... These
people have ruined it, okay?
Quasi hippy dippy dumb fucking motherfuckers that get like this idea of like, ooh, like it means, but like then you get people who are actually like understanding in it. You're like, hey, this is the correlation between when
it's
in the planets
explained in a more modern way that people can actually latch onto.
Yeah.
Versus what people have been saying for hundreds of years, but sounds weird.
Right.
Because they're using ways that we don't understand anymore. So it sounds hippy dippy or fake.
Like, I'll give you a really clear example, and you know what I'm talking about, how the moon affects people's behavior.
Ask any person who's worked in a hospital or in a jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad's like full moon nights, the inmates, because he used to be
it does some shit.
Corrections officer at a jail.
Yeah.
And he's like, every month on the full moon, he's like, I didn't even have to check it was a full moon. I would just walk in and see what was going on and go, shit, it's a full moon tonight, isn't it?
Yep.
Same thing in hospitals, because when you think of it,
all the demented patients.
Well, the moon controls the water on Earth people are 70% water.
It moves you.
Why wouldn't it affect us? Especially our brain is literally just water and electricity. So why wouldn't it affect us?
Yeah.
So people have said for hundreds of years the full moon affects people, but it wasn't until later when like the moon does stuff to water. We are water. And the people go, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, yeah, these witches and shamans have been telling you this for years, but someone plainly explains it, then it's fact.
Yeah. Same as like we were talking earlier about like what we call I
will say there are bullshit hippy dippy witches out there, but you have to know your own stuff to know who's actually speaking shit.
And that's the thing. And that's totally the thing because scientists are that way too.
Nowadays, people are latching on to accepting, like you can find like, I guess they don't call it witchcraft anymore. They call it new age.
Yeah.
So it's more modernly digestible for the modern people. But I mean, you can find that stuff at Target now, like new age books. I found some at Joann Fabrics. But here's the thing. Barnes and Noble. And they have a whole new age section that has like tarot cards, pendulums, spell books, whatever. And all this other stuff. So I like that it's becoming more acceptable, because people are breaking away from Christianity and not feeling shamed. Because when I was younger, like in middle school, I hid that stuff away in my bedroom because my family's Lutheran Catholic and would have been very, very upset to know that I was using candles and doing all this other stuff.
My mom didn't like Harry Potter. She was like one of those people who were like...
Oh, God. It's fake. But here's the thing. It's
I think she accepted it because her son looked a lot like Harry Potter. So...
but it's becoming more, it's like, hey, this stuff was here before Christianity and it explains stuff and it feels better and it feels right with people. And I think that's why it's becoming more commonly accepted to have a religion outside of Christianity now, especially if it's New Age or witchcraft or whatever you're going through, or paganism or Wicca, whatever you want to call it, because it's all different.
Yeah.
But these are all old religions that are resurfacing, and people aren't feeling afraid anymore to be prosecuted by Christians anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
they're losing their steam.
Yep. Yep. And I think it's funny because I have an altar now, because when I lived in my last apartment, in your apartment, and at home, I didn't have an altar. I had a box under my bed that when people weren't home, I would be doing stuff because I didn't want to scare people. I also didn't want people to judge me.
Yeah.
So for believing in that stuff, that was my last roommate. He was an asshole. And he was mean to me.
I know.
He was a bully. And basically, now that I have my own house, I forgot the last time my mom came over to cover my altar or to clean it up, because I would just tell my mom that I liked collecting candles. It's called being in the broom closet. But I was like, I just like candles, and this is actually a cookbook, and stuff like that. And I think she saw it. And she always makes fun of me because I'll go to the grain bin and get different types of teas and herbal stuff. And she's like, what is this? More witchcraft? Or I'd take herbs and I'd hang them. But she's like, what is more witchy stuff? But she's saying it not in a mean way.
Yeah.
Because I think she's trying to hint at me that she understands that I'm not a Christian anymore.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to upset my grandmother either.
Sure.
Who is very, very religious. I have a sweatshirt that says heathen season on it. And I think it's really funny. It has a pentagram on it.
I like it.
Or a pentacle, I should, because it has the circle around it. And does not want me to wear it around my grandmother, but she's totally fine with me wearing it and having all of my stuff out. She saw it, didn't say shit. Did not, and when she helped me move, did not see a thing, because she opened the box and went, what is this? And went, nothing. She's like, okay.
That was grandma? Or that was your mom? That was your mom. Oh.
And she knows I have witchy shit because when she was cleaning, because when we move, we clean every surface. I don't trust the people to clean before me. And she was cleaning the windows, and the first night I slept there, I made it was eggshell, black salt, and some other herbs that I sprinkled on the windows and of the doorways.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, what
is this?
I'm not going to sleep in a space that doesn't feel protected. And my mom came up the weekend after I moved to help me like clean, and she started wiping it off. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? And she's like,
you're gonna kill us all.
She's like, there's all this dirt and shit in the window. I'm like, I put it there. And she went, what? I'm like, I put it there. And she's like, why? I'm like, to stay safe from the spookies. And she's like, oh, you're witchy. Oh my God. Like she was like she rolls her eyes at it, but she respected it. She stopped cleaning it.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of moved away from it. And she's like, she just doesn't want to talk about it, I guess. But she's like, oh, and she's like, really? And she rolled her eyes and moved on.
Right. Because then if you put it in perspective, is any different?
And the thing is, there's the same parallel as making, because I know for a fact,
like when Christians
like take holy water.
Bless
the house by spraying holy water in it.
Is it any fucking different?
No, it's not. And I worked as a housekeeper. And when I did housekeeping, they would have these conventions. And there was this one where it was like, I think priests from around the world or something, because they were African. And I went in and they had put oiled crosses on the headboards. Yeah. Which I felt really bad. I had to clean those up. So they had to keep redoing them. Mm-hmm. But it's like, it's no different. Like a friend of mine, when they repainted the inside of their house, they had gotten holy water from a church and poured it into the paint and painted the inside of their house.
Holy water.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is funny because it's like, pagans use holy water too. They just don't have a priest bless it. They have either they bless it themselves because they feel they have the power to do so, or they get a high priestess or priest in their religion to bless it through their, because a lot of pagans believe you don't get your power from gods, but you get it you cultivate it within yourself. Yeah. You ask gods for help and guidance in your journey, in your path of how to use your own stuff. Like, I think it was really funny. I was watching this podcast with Mystic Dylan, and he's a famous witch, wrote a couple books. And he was talking about how, like, he did a podcast with Anthony Padilla or whatever, interviewing him. And they're like, do you get mad when people think you worship the devil? He's like, first, the devil's a Christian concept. Unless you're a Christian, no one believes the devil's real. So it's really funny because even Satanists don't believe the devil's real. They just use the use the word Satanist to fucking poke at Christians.
Well, in the reality, like to kind of play devil's advocate, but like for the Christian sake, is like even the term Satan. Yeah. It wasn't a name. It was the Satan. It was a title.
It was a title
referring to. There was, I'll pull from like Job, where it talks about in the very beginning of this one story about this guy Job. There was God was like holding court in his heavenly realm, and God was basically saying, look at this great guy named Job. He's an upright citizen. He's like the epitome of like what it means to be good in God's eyes on earth. And then the Satan was the accuser or the questioner. Like he basically was just like,
is he good though?
Is he doing it just because you're giving him a reward of being good? How about what if shit goes south? Is he still gonna basically love you?
And then he got permission from God to fuck with him.
Yeah, he's just like, all right, do as you will.
And then people have proved like, Satan or Lucifer is a tool used by God. If you read it, Satan has to ask permission from God every single time to fuck with people. And God gives him permission. He's a tool by God. Satan has not done a single thing without his permission. Mm-hmm. So it's like he's the villain. I'm like, that's because we paint him as the villain?
And that's what's funny to me. Like, I like some things about it, but I do not subscribe.
I think if you just... I don't subscribe, but if you actually read it, I'm like, any person who actually reads the Bible, I don't know how you're still a Christian because it's pretty fucking messed up.
Well, what it does show is like we're inherently flawed and we're inherently at the whim of either
and that's
choosing to do the right thing or the wrong thing.
You're not a Christian, so what's keeping you from being a bad person, from sinning? Like, first of all, sin is also a Christian concept. Like back in the Greeks with their Greek gods, there was no such thing as sinning. They had miasma, which is a different thing.
What's funny is like even the stories all throughout the Old Testament, even in like the New Testament, is like these people, the Jewish people, they had God and they still did it.
And the thing is, Yahweh is one.
Yeah.
One of many Hebrew gods.
They talk about it.
Oh yeah, the Hebrews have other gods. Yahweh's one of them. Because in the fact God's like, you'll have no other gods before me.
There were so many other beings.
Which he's talking about there are other gods.
There are a lot of other...
Or other powerful beings.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I explained it to someone because someone got mad at me for wearing a Norse something, whatever.
In Odin we trust.
And in Odin we trust. And she's like, well, what do you do? Like she's like, well, I don't remember how it started, but something about like, well, would Odin die for you? And I'm like, fuck no. Here's why. I think the gods see people as people see pets. Yeah. You love them. You take care of them. You'll take them to the doctor.
You hope they don't bite you.
Spoil them. But in return, you expect them to respect you and be loyal. Like, your fucking cat over there, fuck him. He keeps biting me even though I'm nice to him. Yeah. So fuck him. Yeah. My cat, love her to death because I treat her well and she's never once growled at me. Never once bit me, even when I'm trimming her nails. I trim her butt floof so she doesn't get dingleberries. And she hates it. But she never bites me, scratches me, or growls at me. Mm-hmm. And that's all you can ask to be back. But if my cat was a fucking asshole, I honestly wouldn't like it. But I think I'm going to be sad when my cat dies. But I'm going to move on and get another cat. And I think that's how the gods see us. They love us, but there's so many of us and we're infinite and they like us like a pet.
And that's reciprocal. That's how we feel towards
because we're also not on the
gods
same
too.
We're also not on the same level of them. Like, I can't talk to my cat. There's a dissonance right there. Yeah. So I think because we're not the same beings. So I think that's how the gods view humans. It's like exactly pets. They're going to be sad when we're gone. But if I had a gun pointed at me and be like, it's you or the cat, I'd be like, I'm not going to die for a cat. So to ask Odin to die for me is actually not only thinking that I'm important enough. Like, that's self-importance right there and a big ego for me to think a god would kill himself for little old me. Yeah. That's like a big, huge ego. And I think that's what Christians have an issue is like, well, a god would die for me. And I'm like, did he though? It's like, you think, and I saw a TikTok where like, you think God doesn't want you to kill babies when he killed his own kid? And that's what I was talking about, like with Mystic Dylan. He's like, you know what? I had an old lady come in and ask for a candle because you can make a candle that's like, if I want a promotion or good luck at my job, you make a good luck job candle and hopefully it burns out and then stuff will kind of start going your way at work. Whatever. You need to facilitate. I'm sorry. Facilitate it. But it also like kind of makes things a little easier for you. Like, goals a little more attainable, basically, is like the lowdown of that. Yeah. But an old lady came in, asked for something, and I remember she came back, she's like, you know, I don't care that it's the devil's work. It does such a good job. And he went, excuse me, ma'am, don't give the devil credit for my work. It's like, that is, everyone has their own stuff. Like when they say you need to tap into your third eye, like everyone has it. It's just closed. Because you're told from a baby, don't look at stuff that's weird doesn't exist. Don't do that. That's why kids can see ghosts, but when they grow up, they don't because they're told you shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And so they close it. They close their extra sight, their extra whatever. But other cultures that are open and keep kind of whatever, that's why a lot of more stuff happens to them, I think. So I got into an argument with a director at a theater because his day job is as a pastor. You know exactly who I'm talking about. Yep. And he found my tarot deck card in the girls' dressing room because I got bored one day and just decided I would do tarot readings for, it was a kid's show, but they were high schoolers. They were like 16, 17, 18. They're practically adults. And I was just doing readings for them. And a lot of them are like most from a small Christian community don't believe in it, but they're fascinated with it. They're like, I want to get a reading and just say what it says. And I think that's he got so upset and so mad. Yeah. Because he's like, that's evil. You don't know what you're talking to. I'm like, yeah, first of all, you're talking to guides because that's who you asked to help you. Yeah. He's like, well, you don't know who's answering. I'm like, neither do you when you pray. And we were just batting back and forth. He's like, yeah, I pray to Jesus. I'm like, are you though? Who's answering?
And that's even another thing. There are
tricksters who pretend to be what they're not. And we just got into this huge argument. He's like, well, it's evil. And I'm like, how do you know? He's like, I've done my research. I'm like, so you're telling me you, a Christian pastor, knows more about paganism than a pagan, which is so fucking rude. And I'm like, well, you can't tell me the Western media has made voodoo, like the Princess Frog, and tarot card readings evil just to amped up, but that's not what it's from. It's not like it's the same thing with like Christians aren't inherently good. What about the KKK? He's like, well, those aren't real Christians. I'm like, yeah. So every religion gives people
dickheads that
gives people power,
quote unquote.
but what they do with that power is up to the individual.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've been yelled at by tarot cards, but they've never done anything inherently evil because they'll call out on your bullshit. Like, I'll be reading, damn, burn, ouch. So they're like, just being like, you stupid bitch. And I'm like, ugh. That's what Mariah's kept doing to mine. They're like, you suck. And I'm like, ugh, it hurts. And she was just laughing. But like, same thing with like pendulums or even other communication things or whatever. You need to be careful, yes, because you don't know who's answering unless you're being very specific. But it's on how you need to be versed. You need to actually know what you're doing and know how to be respectful. Because, like I said, these are gods and spirits. If you're a shithole trip cat who's biting all the time, they're going to spray you or do stuff to you. Like
in that spirit, I think let's get oh shit, what are they called? The Ouija boards? Let's just get a fucking Ouija board.
I'm not doing that.
Why? They're not inherently evil.
They're not, but they're so easy to fuck up, though.
I would never fuck with that. Like,
there's the same thing with pendulums, though, but those are a little safer.
Yeah.
But I don't want to fuck with it because it's just too easy now. And like what I said with tricksters, they do a lot to pretend that they're good when they're not.
No. I think it'd be really funny though to have I've seen coffee tables. I do
leave out shots on I'll leave out treats and like shots of vodka up on my altar. Be like, hey, I don't know who's answering, but or who's like here, but like, here you go.
Yeah.
You're cool.
Yeah.
Be nice to me.
like a coffee table where it's a Ouija board too. But then it just keeps moving around your coffee cup.
Your shot glass.
Hey. Give me my latte back.
Exactly. And the thing is, a lot of spirits are funny. Like, sure. You know, like, have you ever said, like, if I die and I haunt someone, I'm going to fuck around with people? They do that. That happens.
Of course they do.
So, like, sometimes, but I think
that's their entertainment.
Me just being freaked out. So if someone does talk to me or try to communicate, I just get scared right away, even if they're just trying to be nice. I'm like, that's why I apologize to that one. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And then I left.
Help me.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Fuck.
But no, it's just an interesting life.
Yeah.
I have that whole huge bookshelf of just stuff. If you ever want to read up on something, I have a bunch of different topics too.
There was
because I'm a book mom. I adopt them from the book shelter. I know it's called Barnes and Nobles, but
adopt them from the book shelter.
Shelter. But I just collect books. Will I ever read half of them? Maybe. But I just like books.
There was one that my dad had picked up, kind of in anticipation to like making like home. It was all like about plants and like home remedies.
Oh,
it was this
herbal
stuff. I'll see if I can look it up.
Herbology or whatever it is.
And it was like
I've got some stuff on that too.
It was really cool, and like you read through and like, yeah, this is what this plant does. This is just a lot about the plant and then what it's.
I want to grow a poison garden one day.
A poison garden
with poppies, like stuff like that, like all the poisonous, like or foxglove, like your mom has.
Well, see, the thing, and I had learned about this in nursing school, where she didn't know, like she just was like she likes the plants.
Just don't eat that. She just doesn't.
I said just don't do it, and she's like, why? And
I don't let animals eat it either.
Well, yeah, because what it does, what foxglove is it's something digitalis, like, and what it has been used for is it has been made into a medication called digoxin or lanoxin or something like that.
I know what you're talking about.
And what it does is it slows down the heart rate.
Yeah, like stops your heart. Basically.
Yeah, but it like increases the way,
pressure?
Like the strength of the pump in your heart. But what happened was long ago, people would use it as a poison and you'd drink it because you'd make a tea out of it and you
can't taste it.
It would literally stop your heart.
Exactly. And you can't taste it. So a lot of people used to kill each other with foxglove. And and the thing is, modern days you probably get away with it because people don't test for it. Mm-hmm. If someone just dies suddenly, they're just going to assume it's a heart attack because they'll see the stress on the heart.
Yeah.
And I just assume they had a heart attack or something, but it's like they're not going to test for foxglove.
And people don't automatically.
Or hemlock. That looks like carrots.
Yeah. People don't automatically.
Like hemlock sip. Sorry.
People don't automatically, like when someone dies, go
especially
like.
if it's like old school poisons. Like people test for like antifreeze and all this other stuff, but like people don't test for the old school stuff. I'm like, I'm going Renaissance, baby.
Like there's one, like I really loved Breaking Bad, and in there they talk about this one. It's called ricin.
Oh, yep.
And it's almost undetectable unless you're looking for it.
Well, you can arsenic from freaking cherry pits.
Yeah.
And then poppy seeds is
heroin.
No.
Opium.
Thank you.
Same thing.
I guess. But if it's concentrated enough, you can kill someone with it.
Oh, yeah. They stop breathing.
Exactly. Like, you'd be surprised how easy it is to poison someone because there are certain plants that have, like, they're beautiful flowers, but if you eat the root, you'll die. And these are a lot of household, like, variety plants that you get at, like, nurseries and stuff that you don't know that certain parts are actually poisonous.
Right.
If you try to do stuff with them. They're just pretty flowers. Well, no, actually.
I was watching, there was a podcast, it was called Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love that. And they were talking with a guy who was expert on mushrooms. And,
mushroom hunter.
And it's just like just studying of mushrooms and just the fascination that I had with like listening to this dude talk, where there was a theory that they had talked about how it was correlated that when people ate mushrooms, that it helped, like the psychedelic mushrooms, it helped expand their mind and
like it almost unlocks the other, like, because we only use 3% and it unlocks the rest of your mind.
Helped contribute,
like your brain.
To contribute with like language and being able to communicate with one another. So this is like ancient fucking people.
That's why most artists get their best ideas while they're high on shrooms.
I've never done shrooms.
Because stuff clicks for them and they're like, yeah, I just realized something. And it's just because they felt like they were on a higher level of understanding. And I think that's what Berserkers did. They had shrooms and that's what gave them the strength and the extra, like not adrenaline, but it did stuff where they couldn't feel pain.
Yeah.
And it just made them like super strong and super whatever.
We'll have to do a podcast where we just do mushrooms and we just talk with one another.
Oh, I know someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. She keeps asking me if I wanted shrooms with her.
Yeah. That'd be fucking game. I'd be game.
I don't know.
I've never done it.
See, I would just assume I'd have a bad trip. Like, I don't want that experience.
I had a friend, I won't say their name, but when we went to, we went and did some comedy shows in Denver, they had a bag and I never got the chance to try it, but they had said, like, after I had left, they stayed back there with the rest of the group that we were doing comedy with, and they had taken it and they went on a walk, and the whole time the other people, they didn't take the mushrooms, but the whole time they had no idea that he took it because he didn't tell them. Yeah.
Sorry, I just got really good news.
So they went on like a full-fledged nature walk, and like the whole time he was just like, internally he's freaking out. He's like, I'm probably acting weird. I'm probably acting all high. And they couldn't tell. But like the whole time he's like really into like just blown away by like everything that was out. Like the red rocks that are out there just outside of Denver.
It's like that childhood fascination almost again. Like just like, oh.
What's the good news? I don't want to share it.
Yeah. Okay. So Quincy's Black Box Theater, we've been looking for like one of those motorized screens that like conventions and stuff in schools use. And I'm going to buy Caitlin's projector from her so we can like do movie nights.
Yeah.
And we've been looking for this fucking screen everywhere because we've been wanting to get a donation from like a church or a school or like a resort that does conferences, because those things can be expensive. We want the motorized one so it can just come down and go back into the ceiling so you don't have to pull it down. And he just told me that he just messaged me saying, the artistic director just said, have a motorized 120-inch screen coming in. And I went, yeah.
Movie night.
Well, we want to sell movie nights.
Yeah.
Because he even suggested like in the summer we can do like a sing-along to like Grease or something.
Oh, sure. So the
like,
element of like
a little bit have people dress up like in 50s attire, and we've already got popcorn.
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Rocky and I think we were talking about Princess Bride, Clue, like just like those old cult classics.
Yeah.
And just do like interactive movie nights and have people dress up and have like themed concessions or whatever. Mm-hmm. And like just if we just want the extra income, just charging like instead of $15 we would do for like live theater performances, do like $10.
Yeah.
Or even $5 and just do a couple nights of just showing classic movies. Christmas, I mean, you could do so much for Christmas. Mm-hmm. And Halloween, like all of October, just let's just do a screamathon. Like, yeah. But they keep making more movies, so it's getting harder. That's gonna be way too much.
That means there'll always be business. There'll always be business.
Well, I'm like, that's just another way to bring in business. I've also been talking to like the homeschooled community. They need we're thinking of renting out as like an event space too, and like they need a place to hold their graduations.
True. Oh, they could do that there.
And to do their own plays and to do like field trips because they need to get together and socialize with other students.
That is a huge thing. Yeah.
And they want to do their own plays. They want to do like movie nights. They want to do like field trips for these events for these kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, a good place to hold graduations and do like, I can help them do their own little plays and skits if they are learning about theater or just entertainment in general. And I'm like, yeah, we want to be able to like, I've been looking through, I'm not getting paid for this, by the way. It's because I have a degree in entertainment business and theater arts and design that I've been looking through and trying to build a space rental contract for them to rent for profits and nonprofit organizations and whatever. And I'm like, well, we have a big homeschooled community. So I'm trying to make it so we can make money, but not make it so it's too expensive they can't do it whenever they want. So we're slowly moving. I mean, I built their new website. I'm building their other medias. Yes.
And how'd you build their website?
Just through Squarespace.
Oh, okay.
Because I got
to get that done. Especially for this.
Well, it's because I had a class called Build a Business. So I literally, on the first day of class, had to come up with a product. And then you had to go from there and build a business plan, build a website. Tell
people a little bit about your actual education. Because you have quite a few titles underneath your belt. That's the thing.
That should have happened at the beginning of this with introductions.
That's okay.
But basically, I actually had to file a financial aid suspension appeal today because over the years, every couple of years, because I've been going to school since my senior year of college, going to college since my senior year of high school, and that's about 8 years. But that's because I keep changing careers, but I never drop out of a program. I do finish it.
Yeah, of course.
So I went to massage therapy school. I went to cosmetology school. I got my associate's degree in science, in health science. And then, and now I'm back at a university getting a double degree in entertainment industry entertainment industry technology, emphasis in business, and then a theater arts degree with a double emphasis of acting and technology design, costuming. And just through all that, I just have so many credits, they think I'm committing fraud because I haven't gotten a bachelor's degree yet. So, because a lot of people do just keep going to school and have just enough class credit so they can just keep getting money from the government and living off of it.
Oh.
So every couple of years I have to write them a letter saying, I'm not committing fraud. I just don't know what I'm doing with my life.
I'm just a lifelong learner.
And the thing is, it's like, yeah, I don't have a bachelor's degree, but I do have an associate's degree, a Minnesota cosmetology license. I have a certification in massage therapy. Like I have technically stuff to show for it. Mm-hmm. It's just not a bachelor's degree. And then if I want to go get my master's, I have to get I'd have to get an assistantship or I'm not, or whatever to pay for it. Cause otherwise no.
Yeah. But
I just a long, varied education. And then in my business degree, I'm learning I did a double emphasis in, because I didn't want to do paralegal. I have paralegal underneath, but it's not an emphasis. An emphasis in entrepreneurship and communication. Like right now I'm taking event planning, even though I know how to do that.
Yeah.
But I had to take a class called Build Your Own Business. So I came up with me and 2 other people. We had a group and we had to come up with an idea and then come up with your business plan, your market. I think it was marketing, all the legalities, your with marketing, like your website, all of your socials. And then with accounting, you had to figure out how you're paying for it. Like you had to, and then at the very end, you had to basically give this huge presentation of having all of that covered. and I did communications and marketing for it. So I had to come up with all the socials, build a website, come up with logos and like the packaging and like all this other stuff. And now for them, I built their web. And one of them, you had to build the website. So I built the website for this theater, and eventually they'll pay me when they have the money. I have it down. Don't worry. Quincy's helping me getting money from Mike. But just doing all this other stuff. And now we're like, yeah, we need to get I'm like, I got you a projection. I'm like, I got you a card reader so we can start taking credit cards instead of just cash or check for concessions and ticketing. Because it's like those squares that you plug in, and like Mike has an old cell phone he's not using anymore since he upgraded. Let's use that. Now we can take cards. And I'm just optimizing them. And the thing is, we moved from one site to this new site.
Yeah.
Over the summer, and I'm like, we should have, and we have a new logo now, and all this other stuff. I'm like, we should have rebranded and did all this stuff as like an opening for the new site. But now we've been here for months, and now we're doing this, and I'm really pissed off. But it's because they have a staff of 2, and they're both doing it part time because they have day jobs.
Yeah. Which it leads me to my next.
One owns a bakery.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they both own their own other business.
Yeah, it leads me to my next question. When you graduate, and I hire you, how much do you want to get paid?
The industry standard, sir.
How much is that?
It depends on what you're asking for.
Okay. Well, I know this is just me, but I know I'll definitely need help getting word out. Like, I bought the space, I bought the equipment. I understand how to run the equipment. Yeah. But I more so am like,
because you need to do your mobile marketing and messaging, and you need to do your social campaigns. Yeah. Which I just got done doing.
And that much I know how to collaborate with people.
You need to know how to do your SEO, your paid searches, and just making sure that you're constantly, so that's so you show up on search and stuff, your SEO and your paid search. But you need to make sure that you have a presence, like you have a website that looks and feels a certain way. Yeah. And then your medias, which are also looks and feels a certain way, that it's optimal for the viewer and for the user.
I need to make a logo too.
We used to have an old inside joke about Pete's basement. We're like, hey, what happened? Whatever it is, it happened in Pete's basement, man. Hey, what are you guys talking about? Pete's basement. Okay. Oh God, what happened this time? What happens in Pete's basement stays in Pete's basement. All because they made one joke one time about something happening in his basement, and now it's like that creepy stuff happens or all the weird stuff happens in his basement, even though none of it's real. Oh fuck!
You know something I just thought about? So after we wrap the podcast up, we should get Matt. We should all play a game of Cards Against Humanity.
I'm going to tell you right now.
You're going to run out of time?
No, between me and Quincy. Well, I've had to pee for the last half hour. Okay. So hey, just Keegling. So hey, I'm being healthy right now.
That's good.
But is when I played in a group with theater people, I'm going to tell you right now, in a group of theater people, you got the atheists. Yeah. The pagans, non-Christians, the super Christians, and then you have the evil people. Yeah. The thing is, I started out just being nice. Yeah.
And like when you're saying playing Cards Against Humanity, or
so it would be a group of us theater people, me and Quincy. Every time something happened where people went, oh my God, they assumed it was Quincy. No, it was between me and Quincy. They just assumed that because that's his humor. Yeah. The thing is, he's very forward with that humor. Sure. See, that humor is inside my mind, and I don't say it out loud that often, so people just didn't assume it was me. Yeah. But half the time, they would pick the winning card and be like, come on, Quincy. And I'd slowly be like, that's my card. And they're like, what? Yeah. So after a while, they're like, okay, Katie's evil on the inside. Like, he's evil on the outside. So if it was really bad, they go, oh, fuck. Oh, and they'd be like, okay, which one of you did that? Some of them were brutal. I'm like, yep, that was me. And they're like, fuck, Katie. And I'm like,
those ones that just fucking cackle.
Like, I'm sorry. I've had a tough week. Mm-hmm. I'm going to laugh at dead babies. Sorry.
Oh, fuck. And on that note, shall we wrap this bitch up?
On dead babies? Yeah.
On dead babies. Thank you for listening.
Hey, it's a theater term, too. Don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah. You got to, sometimes you have to kill your babies.
You have to kill your babies.
Yep.
Yep, I learned that. What?
Has nothing to do with abortion.
My senior year, we learned about that.
I remember talking with Sean, and in film, they have ideas that they want, and sometimes it just doesn't.
Fun.
It just doesn't translate. A couple of those. I would love. I have an idea for one.
I made one, and I've been in 2.
I have an idea for one. I'll talk to you about it off camera.
You got killed by a mobster.
Yeah, you have the poster of it.
Oh yeah, I wish it came out in time for people to sign it.
I want to eventually in here put up and be able to have put up posters or on the way down. I still see
Sean once in a while because I do concessions at Nemzik.
Yeah,
and he'll walk by and we'll head nod at each other.
He just got a job offer to do kind of what he does for the Wild.
See, I thought he graduated. That's why that's why I was like, Sean's still here?
He was on track. Him and his fiance now. I know, yeah. He proposed to her. I think it was
so cute.
Early part of December.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah,
they've been together for 2 years now.
Yes, they have.
Which is great.
Since we lived in the apartment together. Yeah. And so
that's cute. I can tell she makes him really happy.
Yeah,
he just lights up when he talks about her.
Yeah, he's very thrilled, but he just got a job offer after he graduates this next semester to go work.
At the end of this one or the next one?
This one here.
Oh, so the spring.
Yeah, the spring. He has a job offer to go do media and everything videography related with the Wild, the Minnesota Wild.
Oh, that's
fucking
awesome.
Right?
And that's his dream
since he was a kid. And so
and he does really good work.
God damn, he does good work.
I can tell because even as someone who's only done film, I can understand because we're trained as theatrical actors a little bit on how to do film. Yeah. Film and television. And the few films I've done and watched, I could tell. I remember one time I went up to Sean. I'm like, okay, I'm uncultured when it comes to film, but is that a shit film? He's like, yeah, that was really bad. I'm like, oh, thank God. I didn't know if it was supposed to be something I didn't understand because I'm uncultured. He's like, no, that's a shit movie. And I'm like, oh, thank God.
Becoming friends with Sean and just by proxy being able to see through the eyes of someone who's a film major.
And the thing is, I've made a short film before.
Yeah.
And it's just from watching movies and kind of picking apart and analyzing how you think that was made.
Right.
And I know film majors who I saw their capstone and went, that was trash.
Yeah.
Which I feel really bad.
Yeah. There was one that we got to go see. It was, I don't know what they're called. Juried films.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it was really fun.
You did see one.
It was really fun to go see and do because we had one that was in it. It was a mockumentary. So one of the first songs that I ever got recorded was written for this song, and then it was the main character of it was a mockumentary about a folk singer, and he had only played a 5-string guitar, and so, but he also only had a one-hit wonder, and the one-hit wonder was that song that I wrote for the film. Oh. So that was it, and then we ran through the whole process. I got to be in it. It was really fun, and it was cool getting to watch a whole variety of other people see it because I had seen it in editing process for months, and then they got to see it and you laughed at certain things that you didn't know that they'd laugh at. You're like, oh fuck, I didn't know that was gonna be funny.
Yeah, and the film I was in was a capstone and we had to zoom it and watch it, but it was nice to see the reactions of people because ours was the nicest one. I will say it because I think Sean watched it too. He's like, yeah, your guys was the longest one because everyone either waited till last minute or just thought they could do more than they could and then had to cut a bunch of stuff out. Yeah. And ours was an actual complete story. And ours was, I'll say, the best one. And just, I was able to read, because people were commenting, of what they felt about the film. Because I personally look back and went, I think I could have done better as an actress, but that's how it's always going to be. Yeah. But it was nice to see people's reactions, and they're like, oh yeah, we got movie posters up. We're going to take this to festivals. I have the YouTube link too, if people want to watch it. If I want to show people, but it was nice to see how a film is made. Yeah. It's a short film. It's 15 minutes long. Yeah. But it was nice to see because I kind of knew, but I didn't know some of the vocab and the lingo. For this one tiny scene in a car, in the middle of February, we had to be in a parking lot, opening, closing, getting out of this freaking car, and I'm in a dress, and it's so cold, and we were there for an hour and a half for this one scene, 10-second scene. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, guys, I'm fucking freezing.
Yeah. Yeah, I never realized it, but how you see the film, like when you watch a film, they didn't shoot it in
they don't.
order.
And that was the most surprising thing.
I was like, whoa, and I never figured it out. And I talked to
never computed
about it
to do that.
You're like, no, you could shoot with who you have at that available time,
and then weather and scenes, sunlight,
like
long lighting
shots would take because people figure it out because they're very clever.
Storyboard it.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. Like I do have an idea for a film and I know it's a great fucking idea.
Mine's a shitty horror film.
That's okay.
It's called Fat Camp Massacre and it takes place in the 50s. And it has the devil.
Awesome.
And it's going to be a purposely like shit B movie. It's just campy. I want it to be campy. It's super funny. But here's the thing. I enjoy symbolism and I explain the plot to somebody and they're like, oh, that should be a movie.
Yeah. I'll tell you the one that
and then I made a short film of The Telltale Heart. But I did shoot that in order and it took me a week.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah.
A lot of people liked it. I showed it to people. I'm like, it's not as good as it could be. Like if I did it today, it'd look way better. But I was proud of it.
That's the thing. You should be proud of the things that you make.
It was good for junior year of high school, okay?
Not bad. Not bad. All right. Well, let's wrap this fucking thing up. You go pee.
Thank you for listening to another episode of My Neighbor's Hot Tub. Next week, I get the chance to talk with my friend Alex Shockley. So stay tuned and we'll see you next week.